and I'm from Karavi. And Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
In the news tonight, SADALPA ready if members leave to join Rambuka. PM questions NFP leader's statement. And Bainimarama receives Champion of Earth Award.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Atera Lendua.
The Social Democratic Liberal Party leader says they are prepared in the event some party members decide to leave and join former leader Sitibeni Rambuka. Rambuka resigned from SADALPA on Monday and intends to form a new party to contest the 2022 general election. During a media briefing, Avoka says he is observing party members while at the same time welcomes those who want to join SADALPA as they prepare for the election 2 years from now. Apenisa Wangarandovu reports.
Following Rambuka's resignation from the party, his stalwarts who are still with SADALPA have not made a clear indication about their future with the party, and this worries the party executives.
It is a free country, and SADALPA, as you know, observes that. As you know, we are the only party whose processes is transparent in this country. Everyone talks about SADALPA, our AGM, and everything else. No other party has this. So we believe in freedom of choice, and I think that is our strength.
Avoka claims people are waiting to join them.
I might just add today, a lot of people have been calling in, showing their support, showing their interest in SADALPA. So we will be seeing an influx of people who were sitting on the fence all this while, now moving in to join SADALPA.
Some of Rambuka's stalwarts are still undecided about their future with SADALPA.
Well, I'm still with SADALPA.
No comment at the moment.
Voters have expressed their views, and now that Mr. Rambuka has formed another new party, maybe they will again express their views. Don't know.
Avoka has also stated that party president Ratu Epinisa Thakombau has his prerogative in the party and he will bring more unity to the SADALPA hierarchy. Avoka was defending claims that Ratu Epinisa is having his way in SADALPA. Meanwhile, just 2 days ago, Ratu Epinisa wrote to the Speaker of Parliament expressing his disappointment about the election of the leader of the opposition. Epinisa Wangarandovu, FBC News.
Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama has questioned the statement made by National Federation Party leader Biman Prasad regarding certain government operations. The NFP leader, while addressing Parliament this week, claims that the current government is the worst in Fijian history. Koroi Tandulala reports the Prime Minister, in response, expressed his disappointment that the NFP leader is using the current situation for political gains.
The Prime Minister, while responding to the NFP leader, says his government prioritizes Fijians by implementing relevant measures to protect the nation from the COVID-19 crisis.
And people may ask, what would we do differently? The answer is everything. What about the Bainimarama boom? The national debt is really as big as our economy. The sugar industry is on its knees. The rates of violence against women and children are some of the highest in the world. So are our rates on health for hypertension, heart disease, diabetes. The health system is in tatters, Mr. Speaker.
Should we bring back higher income taxes for Fijian families? Should we stop supporting the sugar industry with the historic stimulus that have provided to lift the cost burden of the shoulders of our cane farmers?
Bainimarama also reiterated the need for parliamentarians to put their differences aside and work towards the common good of the nation.
We are facing the worst economic crisis in Fiji's history. And unfortunately, we are led by the worst government in the history of Fiji.
We are in a crisis. A global pandemic is raging. Our people are suffering. The planet is warming and our oceans are being degraded. And we must be wary of any greenwashing in this parliament for political gain. For years, we've been waiting for the NFP to actually offer up some ideas. And this is the game plan they finally give us.
The Prime Minister says the Fijian government has been able to protect Fiji from COVID-19 and is working towards economic recovery while assisting Fijians in however way possible during this pandemic. Koroi Tandulala, FBC News.
Prime Minister Warenge Bainimarama has dedicated the 2020 Champion of the Earth for Policy Leadership Award to every Fijian and Pacific Islander. The award is the United Nations' highest environmental honor, and while receiving it in Nandi, Bainimarama stresses that there is still more work to be done in the climate front. Details with Felipe Naikaso.
While receiving his award, the Prime Minister has made it clear that it's not a trophy for something we have already achieved.
If this were an 80-minute rugby match, we're still in the first 12 minutes of the game. And to be honest, our opponent, climate change, is kicking our butt. So to hang up our kids and celebrate now wouldn't just be premature, it would be foolish.
Bainimarama says over the past few years, starting with Fiji's presidency of COP23, they have been among the world's most vocal proponents for climate action.
And the many other engagements the UN hosts in its annual calendar, Fiji has been granted a platform where we stood on equal footing, or even with greater prominence than the world's superpowers.
The purpose of the award given to the Prime Minister is to recognize the contribution of outstanding leaders from government, civil society and private sector whose actions have had a positive impact on the environment.
Long before I came here 2.5 years ago, I have, from different parts of the world, watched with admiration and been influenced by your words very, very many times.
Fijians have also been asked to continue carrying the torch of climate advocacy and lead the world by example. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
More rain can be expected from tomorrow throughout the country as Tropical Depression 02F continues to track west of the Fiji waters. Fiji meteorological forecaster Stephen Meke told FBC News that TD02F is currently to the west of Rotuma and is gradually intensifying and most probably will become a tropical cyclone within the next 24 hours. Meke says people of Rotuma can expect a lot of rain and strong to gale force winds. He says rain bands associated with TD02F can be expected to affect Fiji along with pickup winds. The good news is that as TD02F intensifies into a tropical cyclone, it will move to the west of Fiji or between Fiji and Vanuatu. The climate change bill, once passed, is expected to attract global investors. Speaking at the 75th United Nations anniversary in Nandi today, Minister for Economy Ayaz Said Qayyum says public consultations are currently being held regarding the bill. He says once it becomes an act, Fiji will then be able to trade in carbon, as those who aren't emitting as much carbon will have the ability to capitalize on that from those that are emitting more. He says there is an enormous potential to be able to capitalize on Fiji's low carbon footprint. Said Qayyum says the bill will allow for the National Register that will give property rights to investors who trade in carbon.
So ability to be able to, for example, getting land-owning units, various other property owners of land also, to make actually a huge level of capital from this particular provision that'll exist once the climate change bill becomes an act of parliament. And in fact, what it does, it gives us the ability to be able to trade on a global scale.
Up ahead, $15.5 million paid in compensation. And tailors feel the pinch of COVID-19.
Hi, I'm Ini from Raki Raki. I love Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
There is a pressing need to address human rights issues that range from violations concerning women to online bullying and human trafficking, among others. These issues were highlighted by the Human Rights and Anti-Discrimination Commission during a series of panel events for Fiji's 50th independence anniversary called Fiji Through Our Stories. Pranita Prakash reports the event was organized by the NGO Coalition on Human Rights.
Discussions are important not only to address human rights challenges but also to prevent human rights violation in crisis.
There's a pressing need for us to engage across our political differences. As you know, human rights is a very, very contentious issue. And human rights also tends to divide people because people, hold very, very strong views depending on which side of the political divide you're on. And so I think, being in these spaces and having those difficult conversations extremely important, and charting the way forward so that we can constructively engage on a number of issues.
The NGO Coalition on Human Rights says they will continue to highlight issues around human rights violation.
This year, with 50th anniversary of our independence, it's an opportunity for us to stocktake our achievements, challenges and discussions on the way forward.
Nalini Singh says those who violate human rights should be held accountable. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
19 families of road accident victims have so far this year applied for compensation from the Accident Compensation Commission. Chief Executive Parvez Akbar says last year they received 63 applications. 38 lives have been lost on our roads so far this year, and the Commission believes there is a decrease in road accidents due to the curfew in place. Chosai Nanunga reports.
The ACCF has paid out $15.5 million to victims of different incidences since January 2018.
Looking at about 13 odd billion for motor vehicle accidents, 2.2 million or so for employment accidents, and the rest for school accidents. Now, employment and school accidents we started only last year, and that is the reason why most of the payments are for motor vehicle accidents.
The chief executive says they are working on all the applications.
We're looking at about, for motor vehicle accidents, we're looking at about 1,000 that are, about 1,600 that are being processed. And for employment accidents, we're looking at a total of about 947 that are being processed. And for school, it's 125. And like I said, the reason those are under process, either we are waiting documentation from the applicants or we're waiting for the injury to be assessed.
Fijians involved in any accidents need to be compensated, and I commend the work done by ACCF.
I believe most Fijians are taking advantage of this compensation scheme.
The Commission started facilitating road accident applications from early 2018 before shifting to school and workplace accidents from January last year. Chosai Nanunga, FBC News.
Handicraft exhibitor Akanisi Smith organized Fiji's first ever solo craft exhibition and says the COVID-19 pandemic should not be seen as a hurdle. Smith is one of the big names in artisanal handmade crafts who says this is one way to lift the spirit of women during these trying times. Saniani Mboila visited the exhibition in Cornivia.
It's time to be jolly, says Akanisi Smith, who began this journey in 1991.
At come to a standstill, and this is something just to lift up the spirit up a bit for the women, local women around me, the Nosori corridor, rather than just thinking of, oh, it's COVID, we cannot do this, we cannot do that.
Smith uses recycled items to make handicraft together with traditional and natural resources.
Most of it is from scraps, like used recycled bottles and recycled lids, bottle lids, and also I've used natural dyes instead of the dyes that we buy from the shop.
Fiji Arts Council Director Penny Dawilangi says Smith has been a great asset to the council.
This is the first solo exhibition to be done by one of the top craft person of the Arts Council, and she's also a license holder, Fijian-made Fijian craft license holder.
Smith has won numerous prizes and certificates for being the best craft exhibitor around the country. Sainiani Boila, FBC News.
With the usual Christmas buzz during this festive season, tailors are finding it hard to cope with sales. FBC News visited some tailors in Suva today, with most saying their Christmas orders have dropped compared to previous years. Aidan Singh reports.
The struggle is real for Kamal Gaundan, whose business has been drastically affected by the COVID-19 situation grappling the nation.
The demand of this Christmas wear were not as good as last year. The demand has decreased this year. We don't get so much orders as last year as we expected.
Andi Sele, who is based along Waimanu Road, says, despite the current economic challenges, she is grateful to still have a job.
We used to receive orders from government. Some civil servants used to come and some from abroad. But now we see it's a little bit gone down. It's been dropped in the demand. But otherwise, we still moving slowly. It's still going on slowly. Orders are still coming slowly.
Other tailors expressed the same sentiment, saying their earnings has not been favorable to cater for their expenses.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard to pay our rent. We are paying weekly. Yeah?
Previous years was good, but this year it's little bit not that much. But during festive season, it's little bit picking up.
With only 2 weeks until Christmas, tailors hope sales will increase from next week. Aidan Singh, FBC News.
Up next in sports tonight, we have the latest from the Lunakau Sevens. And youth turn to touch rugby. This and more coming up.
हम विनल प्रकाश है गोल्टन तामो में रहता है और सबको रेडियो फीजी 2 सुने सबको लाइक करे
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन
Police have stripped off the Ratu Sukuna Bowl from rivals Army in a stellar display of rugby at the ANZ Stadium in Suva. The dominant Blues hammered Army 32-8, taking the traditional Sukuna Bowl back to Nasoba. Talei Matairakula reports.
The win was a sweet taste of revenge after losing the Sukuna Bowl to Army last year.
The mission was just to return back, take back the Sukuna Bowl to Nasoba, and big shout out to the Blues for these 80 minutes, for giving the best.
Trailing 10-3 at halftime, the Blues looked a better side in the second half as their forwards led the charge.
It was just start where we left for the first 40 minutes, and we have to play our own style of rugby, to play a running game, so we can score tries. And
Army hooker Sireli Lendua says the better team came out victors.
The police team, they are a better team than us compared to our preparation this year. Even though we missed out some quick plays, and I think it doesn't go our way this year. And yes, it's a challenge.
Nasoba will be the home of the Sukuna Bowl this season before the next challenge in 2021. Tali Materkula, FBC Sports.
The Nandi Rugby fellow Fijian teams have achieved their aim this year, and that is to reach the final of the Combat Ulunakau Sevens. Now, making it into the Fiji national men's sevens team is next on the agenda for the Westerners. Karolaini Tavi has more.
Nandi Yellow captain Matereti Tuikoro and his 5 brothers took the field today to represent Indo-Fijians who are adamant of making a career in rugby.
My dad always wanted us to play rugby because he played rugby, but we chose to play football instead of that. But as time changes, so we thought of changing the sport as well.
Tuikoro is calling on other Indo-Fijians to venture out into other sports and not stick to the usual norm.
I just want to shout out to all the guys out there who are part, who can try out this sport because it's lovely. If a football player can do it, so can anyone.
Getting at least one of their players to play on the international stage will be a milestone achievement for the team.
If one can make it into the national squad, it's going to be a proud moment for our fellow Fijian brothers. So that is the main motive. We are trying to promote it so that if they can see and pick even one can go into the national team, it will be really big achievement for the Indo-Fijian brothers. I wish for all the best for our boys. If someone turns out, even one of them can go out, then that'll be a blessing for both of us.
The side has been playing in the Unicau Sevens for the past 4 years, and for the first time, both the Nandi Yellow and Nandi Red have made it to the final. Caroline Tavi, FBC Sports.
Engaging youth in sports is the main aim of the Eastern Hawks touch rugby team. Participating in the Suva touch rugby tournament, player Joshua Kolikoli says the competition has given younger players the much-needed exposure. Kolikoli says the competition has provided a platform for the players to hone their skills and learn from the best.
Mainly to get the youths involved in sport. The aim of our team was to get to the finals. Unfortunately, we lost in our mix in the semi-finals, but that was more of a learning or more of an experience for most of these young kids who are new to the sport.
The tropical disturbance TD02F that was near Vanuatu has intensified to a tropical depression and is expected to develop further and possibly become a tropical cyclone in the next 24 hours. Meanwhile, tropical depression TD01F has weakened. In the west, fine weather prevailed in most places. Eastwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, occasional showers was experienced today. Isolated afternoon and evening thunderstorms is expected. And up north, similar conditions were experienced in both Lambasa and Savusavu. At sea, fresh to strong easterly winds with average wind speed up to 45 kilometers per hour. Turning to the tides, high tide at 5:20 p.m. with the next low tide at 11:47 p.m. Sunrise is at 5:24. For tomorrow, cloudy with some showers over the eastern parts and the interior of the larger islands. Looking further onto Monday, occasional rain and isolated thunderstorms can be expected. Recapping the main story. SODELPA ready if members leave to join Rumbuka. PM questions NFP leaders' statement, and Bainimarama receives Champion of Earth Award. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station, Gold FM. To our poll question, this week we're asking, do you think Sitiveni Rumbuka will form a new party for the next general election? Visit our FBC website to answer. You can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our Facebook and Twitter accounts. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow, keep safe and good night.
कुमार स्वामी नायक है गोमगो लिबू लटो का रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे, हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे।
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन।